Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's good to be back out at practice. Finished practice 4 today. So we are our second day of half pads. Tomorrow we'll be able to put on full pads, put pants on and everything for our last day of acclimatization. And you can tell the guys had a really good summer. Coach Dawson and his staff did a phenomenal job getting the guys in really good shape, really good condition. And then hats off to our leaders. For setting the tone throughout the summer in their captain's practices. I think we've really made great strides from the end of spring practice 13-14 to the first 4 practices now. You can tell there's a lot of great retention with the guys, and they're willing to learn and know that they've got a long ways to go, but we like the progress that they've made so far. So we're early on in fall camp, and so we'll open up for questions.
Yeah, Coach, what have been your impressions so far of the running backs and how things are shaking out there?
Well, it's so early, but we're excited about all the young kids that we brought in. All of them are really good football players. We haven't had any contact periods or anything yet, but their athleticism, all the freshmen, their athleticism is really good. They're going to be really good players. Some of them will have to be really good players this year. Other ones we can redshirt. We're not even close to being able to determine where that will be. And then impressed with Wade James and Harry and Tyler came back throughout the summer, having a great summer, and know our offense better. And then Jordan Brown's just didn't get here till after the 4th of July, but you can tell he's played an awful lot of football at North Carolina because the game is already slowed for him, and so excited to see what he's going to do over the next 3 weeks.
Jordan in particular, just how far behind is he from that standpoint?
Well, you're always going to be behind. You missed the whole spring, some of the summer, but in the same respect, football's football, and a lot of the things they were doing at his previous institution we're doing here. It's just learning the terminology, but he's a sharp kid. He's a quick learner. I haven't seen him, in early practices make any mental errors, and he asks questions. A wonderful person to be around, and I'm excited to see what he can do. He's coming in as a running back right now, and he was a tremendous running back in high school, and we'll see where it shakes out throughout fall camp. We have a lot of good young players there, and we want to give them all an opportunity to be running backs, and I think they all have a skill set to do that. And Jacardier is a big physical guy that can really run, and probably behind just because he missed a lot of the summer stuff being back home, but he understands the game of football, and we'll see where he goes throughout these next 3 weeks as well.
And then at quarterback, the guys behind Skylar, who's kind of caught your eye in that group?
We're giving them all pretty equal reps right now. I think Nick and John are taking the most of those reps with the twos, and both doing some really good things. You can tell they both had good summers physically as well as mentally, and then obviously Jaron. Being here in the spring really helped him. And then Chris Herren's brand new and just learning on the run. But that'll be an ongoing process. We want to continue to push Nick and continue to push John to see who ultimately wins that backup job.
Just in terms of defensive backs, kind of in the spring there's a lot of back and forth. This guy might be nickel, he might be corner. Do you have clarity on a lot of those types of guys, Dron McPherson, Walter Neal, people like that, kind of just where they're stacking up?
Yeah, we don't have clarity on it yet. J-Mac's a good example. I'm just learning, because we missed all the spring, so I'm trying to figure out what his skill set is. And we know he's an inside guy, whether he's a safety or a nickel. We've kept Walt outside right now at corner. Doesn't mean he can't come back to nickel. He's a real sharp guy, but we just wanted him to focus in at corner right now, and we'll see how that plays out. And we've kept Denzel at free, and we've kept Wayne at the strong safety. That was the change that we made, I think, about practice 12 or 13. And both those two guys, with all the reps they had in the summer, have settled into those two positions. So I see those guys staying put. But whether it's Jonathan Alexander, J-Mac, those are the guys that we have to find what their best position is.
I was talking with Skylar at Big 12 Media Day, and he was talking about the fact that Easton came down and spent some time with them. And I know you're a big Easton Stick fan. What can you say about the relationship and how it might benefit Skylar going forward?
Well, it was great to have both Easton and Darius down here. They came and spent a few days with us as coaches, and we were out doing stuff. And I think Easton and Skylar hooked up, got together, and just visited probably. I don't know. I was never in on those things, and that was great. We couldn't be anyway as coaches, but that's good for Skylar to have somebody to bounce things off of that's been through the system. And so whether or not they've texted or met, whatever they've done, I think it's great to have somebody that really knew our system really well in Easton, that had done it for 5 years at a high level. I know that Skylar appreciates any conversation he does get with Easton.
Where's Skylar at right now? I know it's only been 4 practices.
Yeah, he's playing really well. He's playing with so much more confidence, and I knew he would, because I just saw how much of a jump he made from practice 5 and 6 to probably practice 13 in the spring, and then just saw his work ethic in the summertime of how much film he watched on his own, and how much he was up here trying to continue to learn more about our system. And I can see in the first 4 practices, he's got a great grasp of things. He's already checking things at the line of scrimmage, which he wouldn't even have thought about doing until late in the spring. Now he feels really comfortable, and just signals and being on the right page with the wide receivers and tight ends has been really neat to see how much his growth has been. And that's just in 4 days. I'm really hoping it, and I'm counting on there being really substantial growth here in the next 3 weeks.
Have you seen anything in terms of lockdown corners, or guys that just have that on film, or guys that have that instinct in terms of man-to-man coverage?
I think AJ can be, and we'll put him in some of those positions, but that's we're still learning the system with those guys, and we've got to do both. We've got to be able to play zone. We've got to be able to play man. And so, just to say you're going to lock somebody down, I mean, that's not the nature of what we're going to do defensively. As a whole, we'll have to do it at times, but we're looking for the total package there at corner right now, a guy that can play zone, the guy that can play man, a guy that can tackle. And the biggest thing we have to do a good job of it at the corner position is to be able to communicate and be able to see things pre-snap and be able to understand what the offense is trying to do, just based on the formation, splits, those things.
Chris, I also want to ask you, going back to the beginning, you talked about the practices, off-season conditioning and so forth. For you, how different is this, given the fact that you're taking us another step now with the Kansas State program after leaving behind your footprint and the regimen and everything else that goes into a spring in the summer?
It's excitement for me because, this is the first year that I didn't know what to expect come August. Having a system and having guys in place year after year, you knew the progress they were making over summertime, and you kind of knew what to expect in the fall based on a kid being in the program 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 and 5 years. For us, we've got a lot of older kids, a lot of upperclassmen, but only having 15 practices with those guys, I wasn't sure what to expect coming into. I think all of us coaches weren't sure what to expect as we started the first 4 practices. Were we going to regress and maybe not start from scratch, but start from practice 5 or 6 in the spring, as opposed to hopefully continuing on from practice 13, 14 and rolling? And that's what we've done. And so as a coaching staff, we're really excited and really pleased because we've put so many things in installation offensively and defensively that were day 6, day 8, day 9 in the spring are already in day 2 and day 3. So that tells me the guys worked their tails off mentally in the summertime so that they could be ahead. And so, we've got to get those young guys, those guys maybe that are new to the program or didn't practice very much in the spring, up to speed. But I'm really pleased and excited about the progress we're going to make this month.
Noticed that Chris Herren at practice today was working a little bit with the receivers. What's the plan for him moving forward?
Well, we want to see him as a quarterback. That's what he is first and foremost, is to be a quarterback. I really appreciate Chris because we have 5 quarterbacks out there, and he wants repetitions. And wide receiver is always a spot that you get thin in fall camp, and so he's come to Coach Klein and said, "Hey, I'll take some reps at wide receiver. I want to be out there." The other thing I think it does is it allows him to really learn the system a little bit more by playing quarterback and then moving outside to wide receiver. You just the more you can grasp, the more things that I think he's going to feel comfortable with. I still see him as a quarterback this year, and then we'll decide where he's at. I mean, it's unfair to evaluate him as a quarterback even throughout fall camp. We'll be evaluating daily, but after 4 practices, it's really foreign to him right now. But he's a great athlete. I know that. He's a phenomenal athlete, and Coach Dawson would tell you he was one of the top athletes we brought in this year just through his testing and stuff. So we have to find the best spot for Chris, and you'd like to keep him at quarterback, but let's see what happens.
I was going to ask about linebacker depth. How comfortable do you feel right now with that group?
Well, I was real pleased with how Eli and Daquan came back and worked hard this summer. And they, Eli, we just moved from the Willbacker to the Mike position after J-Ball got hurt. And so I can see the leaps that Eli's made in his comfort level and his communication skills. And then Daniel Green, Cody Fletcher are in the mix as well. We're trying to develop another one, whoever that may be, trying to find a fifth. And a number of guys are battling for that. But, we're always going to be a little thin there, just losing Justin Hughes as late as we did. And we didn't have a big class of linebackers coming in. So that'll be an ongoing process to try to find more guys that can help us there.
Staying with the linebackers and Justin's injury, number one, how have they come back, I guess, emotionally with that? I mean, have they kind of started to rally around that?
Yeah, I think the fact that those guys were on their own throughout the summer with their captain's practices, and it was good because Justin was out there with those guys during their captain's practices, and he was able to help coach a little bit with us not being out there. I think that Eli especially felt more and more comfortable being able to ask Justin all the questions that Justin knows the game so well. And so, they've settled in. It's too bad, obviously, that he's going to lose this year. It's great that he's going to get the year back, but I think they've settled in on it.
Coach, your first recruiting class, you did a really nice job of kind of heading east and picking some kids out of KU's backyard. Does that kind of set the table maybe for the future if you ever set up any kind of recruiting battles with them to kind of get some of those kids early?
We're just trying to find and identify the guys that fit our system well, and Keenan and Jax both fit what we're doing really well. Keenan as a really good wide receiver, whether we can play him inside or outside, and then Jax as a fullback within our offense. I think it fits. It doesn't matter who we're really going against in recruiting. I don't look at it that way. I look at it more of find the individual player and see where he fits within your system. And if he fits within your system, I really don't care who's recruiting him. If he fits within the system, we've got to try to go after that young man.
Reggie Walker sitting out today, was that just some precautionary stuff?
He turned an ankle during the last week of summer conditioning, so we anticipate him being out for about a week and already progressing pretty well, doing some things on the side. I would assume Reggie would probably practice next week, and so he's behind a little bit, but once again, there's a fifth-year guy that's played an awful lot of football, so he'll be all right.
And going back to Nick at quarterback, what's just impressed you most about what he's done in the first couple of practices?
Just how smart he is, and the fact that Nick understands the system and works hard at it. The players really trust him. The players know that he's going to get them in the right call, and he's going to execute at a high level. And I think athletically he's done a really nice job of making some plays with his feet and making some plays and keeping things alive. And he's a big, strong player. And so I really appreciated seeing him grow from early in the spring to how he finished, because he finished spring ball really well, and he's kind of taken it right off the bat and started really well this fall camp. So we'll see how he does. It's just, it's the situational things that I've got to see out of Nick, and I've got to see out of John, the red zone stuff, the third down periods, the 2-minute things that will probably separate those two.
Back in the spring, when he first moved there, you called the DJ Render move an experiment. I mean, I saw he was there again today. Have you guys made that decision? He's going to stay at safety
He's
now?
going to stay there, and he's behind, obviously, mentally, just not playing defense for a while. DJ's needs to find a way to get on the bus and get on the field through special teams, and so with all the defensive special teams that with punt and kickoff and different things, we just got to continue to get him to understand defensive football more, and once he maybe can help us on teams, we'll see how that translates to him helping us on defense.
And then one other potential just position things. I know back on signing day I'd asked you about Clyde Price and maybe where he would play because he also was a talented linebacker.
Yep.
With the numbers and you mentioning the lack of depth there, is there any chance that he would potentially play linebacker?
Well, probably not this first year because he is a talented running back. Now, if Coach Hayes is in here, if Scotty's in here, Scotty's foaming at the mouth. He'd take Jacardier, he'll take Clyde, he'd take a lot of those guys. But they were brought in here as running backs, and we want to make sure that we solidify that position and try to make sure that we have the ability to play 2 and 3 at one time. Plus, we're going to lose 2 seniors out of this class with the 2 grad transfers. And so, they're both really good athletes, all those running backs, and that's what we tried to do. You could take Thomas Grayson, you could take Joe Irvin. They're good enough to play somewhere, and that's what we're excited about, is they're not one-dimensional. And so we'll just see how it plays out, but all those guys are truly running backs right now.
You mentioned earlier Walter Neal at moving out to corner. What's the Nickelback spot look like right now, and then discuss that corner depth you have?
Well, Jonathan Durham's running with the ones right now at nickel. We've tried Jonathan Alexander there. We're going to try McPherson there. I know Walt can play in there. We played Ross Elder in there. We're just trying to keep moving guys around and see if we can find that niche. And so that'll be ongoing. At the corner position, we like AJ exceptionally well. He's a really smart kid that's played a lot of football here, and then Walt would play opposite of him right now. And we're trying to develop another guy, whether that's whether that's Keevy, whether that's DPAT, whether it's Echo. There's a number of guys, Lance Robinson, that are doing some good things, but we need to continue to get those guys repetition so that they feel comfortable within the structure of the defense. We feel comfortable, and once that happens, we could it would maybe allow Walt to be interchangeable with corner and nickel, but right now we just wanted to lock him into one spot. I know he played nickel in the spring. Lock him into one spot in the fall, and then if we have to move him over, or we potentially could.
Coach, you talked about that wide receiver group a little bit. When you look at guys like Malik and Joaquin, who have a little bit of experience but are still a little green, what are you looking for out of them in this fall camp to show that they're ready to assume a larger role opposite Dalton this year?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is consistency. And consistency in their alignment, consistency in the depths of their routes and coming in and out of breaks, and catching the ball is an obvious thing, but do they understand when Skylar checks a play of making sure that they understand, hey, this is the route I've got to run, and I've got to run a precise route. And I've been impressed with Joaquin, like I told you guys in the spring. I've been excited about Malik. He missed some time in the spring. Sebastian Taylor's really done a nice job through 3 or 4 practices, a big guy that can go catch the football. Landry Weber's doing a really nice job early on. Seth Porter's doing a nice job early on. Josh Youngblood's a kid that he just makes a splash play. Doesn't know what he's doing right now, but makes splash plays. And we'll probably be in the mix somewhere as well. And that's the other thing, is we have to find between those guys, between the depth, hopefully, that we have at running back, maybe we can flex some of those guys out as well and just try to create some matchup problems. But it'll be an ongoing deal with our wide receivers because of the lack of experience, with the exception of Dalton.
Coach, we talk about newness within the program, and it's also new for us. We're 7 or 8 media opportunities during fall camp is unheard of. What's the?
I don't even know what you guys are even talking about.
What's the thought process? Walk us through that, and just your philosophy with those types of things.
Well, when Kenny tells me there's a media obligation, then we run the media obligation. Is what he's in charge of the thing right now. I honestly, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. I really don't. He told me a bunch of you guys were out there today. I didn't have any idea. There's so many things we have to do. There's so much work we have to do and get done that I'm kind of oblivious to a lot of it. I know that's probably bad to say, but I'm just focusing in on what we need to do every day to try to get the team better. And if meeting with you guys and stuff, it helps you. It's just what I've done in the past, and I'm comfortable with that. And you'll know sometimes if I don't want to talk about something, I'll say, hey, I just don't want to talk about it too.
You brought up Josh Youngblood just a second ago, but specifically for him coming in, obviously there's been a lot said about him and the ability that he has. How steep is that learning curve for him?
Oh,
right
it's
now?
steep. There's no question about it. I mean, we want to make sure that he's not just one position player. We don't want to say, hey, you're only a slot player, Josh. We need him to learn a multitude of positions at the wide receiver position so we can slide him and move him around. He has good size and good speed. He's 195 pounds, which is pretty good size for a wide receiver. He has really good hands. He finishes plays. He finishes practice. We kick the ball to him, and he's on a scout team kick return, and he takes the thing 80 yards. He's running as fast as he can. He has that innate motor that doesn't stop. You have those type of kids. You find ways to keep force feeding those guys so that you can see how much they can retain, and whether he'll be a part of everything in our package week 1, week 4, week 6, I don't know. If he can learn it, he'll be a part of it quicker, and that's the challenge. And I know it's foreign to him right now, but it's cool because you've got guys like Dalton Schoen and Joaquin and Skylar helping him out because they see what a lot of us as coaches see. There's a pretty special talent there.
Do you feel you've had stabilization at the defensive line position?
Well, we do interior for sure. You know, we're playing a bunch of guys inside there. You know, Trey Deshawn, Joe Davies are in there. Mitty's doing a really good job. Wiley's doing a good job. Huggins is doing a good. We have enough bodies in there. We're just kind of rotating guys there. At defensive end with Reggie being nicked up and Massey being just nicked up. He'll probably be back in the next couple of days, but he missed today. The guy that I'm excited about, everybody's excited about Wyatt. He's no brainer, but Kyle Ball. You know, I didn't see Kyle in the spring, and I told him about it. I said, shoot, Kyle, I'm excited to watch you run around and play. And a guy that's exceptionally strong, gets off the football well, really hard to sustain blocks on him, and plays the game the right way with an unbelievable motor. I think Kyle is going to be in for a terrific year. And then with depth, Spencer Trussell's done a nice job. He's got a really good quick twitch, really good pass rush ability. And then we're moving Eric Gallen around. Gallen's been a linebacker for us. We're sliding him in and out of fronts. We're playing him at linebacker. We're playing him at a little bit of defensive end because he's a senior that wants to help the football team, and he's got a skill set that we think he can utilize some things at defensive end. So we'll try him there as well.
Is there anybody new on the offensive line who's been catching your eye?
You know, Evan Curl's done a really nice job. Been excited about Evan. Noah Johnson done some good things, playing center end guard. You know, we're just continuing to try to find the depth, especially at the tackle position. You know, Duffy's done a nice job. Christian has as another tackle, but he's a young player. Trying to develop 8, 9, and 10 there, and that'll be ongoing. But I like the way they're working.
Chris, have you ever had to be as creative with the team as you've had to so far with this one?
Yeah, you always do. You know, you're always trying to think a step ahead. We know the spots that we're thin. I've been a part of it where I knew the spots that were thin at North Dakota State as well, and you always just try to think a step ahead of what guys can help you. You know, you're always looking for the splash players that you find a spot for and see if they can help you. Maybe it's in a third down package, maybe offensively or defensively. Maybe there's a specific skill set that, you know, an Eric Gallen, maybe he can help us on third down, maybe he can help us in a pass rush situation. But, you know, we're always trying to create depth. This is a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And so we have to continue, even these young kids that don't have any idea what they're doing right now. A kid that's really shown up to me that I'm excited about is Cooper Beebe. Now, is Cooper probably going to play for us as a true freshman? Probably not. but I like what Cooper's doing. He gets the game. He plays fast. He plays hard. That those are the type of kids that, hey, you're developing. Maybe there's a 4-game rule, and Cooper's got to help us. Well, he's progressing well enough and wanting to learn. And you get the guys like, Holtorf and Franz and stuff that are helping the kid. Those are the ones that are going to potentially give us a game somewhere along the line.
That's what I was going to ask about the 4-game rule. Are you in a position to like it or not like it?
I love it.
Yeah, you love it?
I love it. I think we played 8 to 10 last year, and it allows maybe a kid that's on every special team and starting on defense, you get a blow somewhere and you play a young man. The thing that you got to be conscious of, and I think everybody learned from it last year, is 1 play equals 1 game. And so you want to make sure that you have something of a package together for somebody, or you're going to play him on multiple teams, so that you utilize those games effectively. And it doesn't matter. You may be thin in week 3, you may be thin in week 8. Well, you want to make sure and spread those around if you can. And I think it keeps the young players engaged, because as they continue to progress, you never know when your opportunity is going to come. And if you keep doing things well on scout team, keep progressing, we're going to see what you can do, because I want to have those guys have that feeling of playing in a Big 12 game and still retaining their eligibility.
At tight end, you seemed unsure in Arlington about how quickly Nick Lenners could get it back up to speed. Where's he at progression-wise?
He's done really well in the first 4 practices. I don't see him, being limited at all. He's cut it loose, and so I'm excited for Nick.
I understand this might be one of the topics you say you don't want to say much about, but I noticed, at least on the roster, that Kenny Givens isn't here. Are you allowed to say much about him?
Just didn't make it. It's just not part of the team right now. No.